Okay, I just lost 2 hours of footage for this video after it randomly decided to just not save the footage at all. Like, does it know how critical it is for me to get the video out on April 1st? The hell do you think this is, an April Fool's prank? It's so retreaded. Hi there. No, I'm not dead. Actually, I just finished up this game on the Nintendo Switch that you've probably never heard of. So I've played Super Mario Galaxy more times than I care to count, and at this point I feel obliged to ferociously defend this game from any triggered video or any everything wrong with parody that shits on this wonderful masterpiece. But you know what? I get it. Some of these galaxies overall are just not fun to play in. Far from it. They're the stages where I enter the level, collect 1 star, and then my mood dies alone and unloved and I call it a day. Now, I can look favorably on the Galaxy regardless of how many stars it has, so I'll try not to take star count too much into consideration, but essentially I'm counting stages that are either boring, downright forgettable, or just altogether feel like a chore to complete. And I just watched a couple grown men from normal boots shit on a couple of these galaxies, so if some of my points seem familiar to you, that's where I got my inspiration from, most likely. Anyway, since the shortness of the level seems to be a big concern to some of you silly octolings when we're talking about how bad it is, then fine, let's quickly talk about by far the tiniest galaxy in the game, the Flip Switch Galaxy. Let's see. 1 tiny planet, 1 lonely enemy, 1 pathetic star, and 50 some odd coins you can never collect, which leaves you with, what, 2? Also, you can only tread on 3 sides of this planet that just looks like a cube, of course from the only angle in which we're allowed to look at it. Point being, there's not a lot to do here. You fly in, get the star in like 30 seconds, and then forget about it. But I'm going to cut this galaxy some slack, as you encounter it very early in the game, and there's at least some kind of challenge to getting the star. It's a neat little puzzle where you have to turn all the blue switches yellow, and you have some spiked platforms and circular lasers to avoid, and if you miss a step, you get spaghettified. Now, why am I bringing up the Flip Switch Galaxy as a sort of dishonorable mention? Literally, the only criticism I can think of is, it's fucking tiny. And you probably won't be here for more than a minute, unless your name is Pannen and you get the idea to try getting the star in half an A-press.
An A-press is an A-press. You can't say it's only a half.
But yeah, still something of a waste of stage, I guess. But the next 10 galaxies I'm about to shit on have way worse things hampering them than any additional plethora of content could save. So without further ado, I'm a random squid boy like you've only seen twice before, and this is my list of the 10 worst, well, you get the rest. If there's one thing I'm sure we can all agree on, the entire world is probably fucked. Also, the power-ups in this game are maybe sorta kinda silly. For instance, the bee mushroom. Well, I suppose it's good for moon jumping, but it just takes away more iconic moves as a trade-off. Also, the moment you see giant flowers or rain clouds, wait, what? You know you'll be finding one of these guys nearby. How about the boo mushroom, which turns Plumber Boy into a ghost? It's another good way to simply fly across the stage and supposedly pass through walls, though why it only works on mesh fences is beyond me. Seeing them both featured on the back of the case cover in 2007 made me think this game would be on drugs. Seeing them both on the same damn stage made me rage quit. Okay, not really. I'll give the Big N some credit for really putting a lot of faith in these yum yum shrooms. It at least gives the Sand Spiral Galaxy some personality. Accessible via the Hungry Luma just outside the engine room, this is one of those tiny ass areas that you visit and then forget. This is going to be a common theme for this list. It's like this game is full of wasted ideas that the devs didn't seem to care very much about, so why should I? So in this galaxy, you're out for a single power star. Choosing your favorite snack, the word snack of course used quite liberally. On one end, you've got the one mushroom guy gushing about the bee mushroom in front of him, and the other mushroom guy won't shut the fuck up about his boo mushroom. Whichever way you go, the way to the star is through this mode of quicksand or what have you. For all I know, it might be possible to skip both power-ups and just do some nifty acrobatics, but I haven't got that to work myself yet. Or perhaps you can get the boo mushroom and just float all the way above this big-ass space contraption. I don't know. But once you've picked your lunch, things change. Now the guy on the right is, you're the best, Mario! While the guy on the left is freaking out because there's either a bee ready to sting him or a ghost that'll scare him shitless. But then you get to the obstacle course itself. For no good reason, there's a boo mushroom waiting to snipe me atop this pole, so wait, why would you give me the choice in the first place, especially when I could just float down here and not risk sinking into the quicksand as Boo Mario? I don't get it. The star itself waits atop this brightly lit moon, which is obviously bad for ghosts, so once you get up here, you die. No, you just revert back to standard Mario. This means you lose the ability to float and can now fall off this uber fast broken platform and actual die. Or if you're nimble enough to get Bee Mario to this point, with no water in the way, makes sense, Bee Mario is able to simply fly to the moon. Nice. At the end of the day, I don't suppose it really matters which snack you choose. You're gonna find a slight challenge either way. I just wish Mario didn't look so silly while you were at it, or perhaps the stage looked a little more appealing. Back on the subject of the bee mushroom, I tend to forget a lot that it's even a thing. The game utilizes it heavily by way of these honeycomb walls on which Bee Mario can climb on and stick. I guess that's somewhat unique, but there's nothing stopping me from believing that same effect could have been achieved just by flipping the gravity 90 degrees. This is Mario Galaxy after all. Just makes the bee mushroom seem like it was chiefly made for the sake of ticking off a checklist. An afterthought for sure. And nowhere is this more apparent than in the Honey Climb Galaxy. It's another single mission stage where the premise is pretty simple. Navigating a couple planets covered to the brim with the sticky stuff, of course in that stereotypical hexagonal pattern. Not to mention I'm once again using the word planets in a loose sense. They're literally just giant mountain climbing walls, just with honey instead of rocks, and no harnesses other than a bee mushroom. This is a bit of a jarring change of pace from floating in deep space, blowing up underwater weights, or if you want to take an example from the dome we're in right now, riding the fucking wind on those godforsaken floaty fluffs. And yeah, I might be having an overly adverse reaction to a harmless mid-game platforming challenge involving one of the game's flagship power-ups, but it's just too silly for me to ignore here. Not to mention you can just cheese the supposedly challenging part with the meteors by jumping across the stage. Apparently the honeycomb walls have their own gravitational pull on B Mario, so landing back on them shouldn't be much of a problem. I always feel like a zombie playing this stage, as if I played this game a bit too much. You know how once you've played a stage to oblivion and developed muscle memory on it, eventually your controller movements become mindless? I was fortunate enough to still find a plethora of hidden secrets on my live playthrough of Mario Galaxy that just made my head explode. That didn't happen with the Honey Climb Galaxy. There's just nothing to see here. Next. We've had a fuckload of 3D Mario games hit the market in the last decade, ranging from a pair of epic space adventures to an actually refreshing sandbox game akin to Mario 64 to some blocky shits. And now I've heard some of y'all spreading rumors about some big-ass collection of older 3D games on the Switch. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Whatever the game, whatever the style, I get a sense of satisfaction for just going around the many stages to see what all I can find, especially if I have no idea where to go in the first place. And a lot of the time I come across a nice little reward for my exploration, no matter how trivial it may be. Sometimes it even adds some charm to an otherwise boring galaxy. But what happens when there is no exploration to be had, and literally the only places you can go are where the levels lead you? I noticed a lot of that going on in the Ghostly Galaxy.
Now, hold on. I know what you're thinking.
A stage that I honestly couldn't much recall when going through the whole game over again. 2 of the 3 main stars have you infiltrating this haunted house-type mansion, and I think the devs were trying to paint this house as the main symbol of the Ghostly Galaxy, but honestly the only levels that stuck out to me were the Purple Coin level, which came with ridiculous time limit, and the Boulder Guys fight, only because I feel they didn't make me blow this guy up a billion times enough. And I hear you guys complaining that this is one of the more difficult bosses in the game, specifically when you have only 1 bar of health to work with, but honestly it's a big pushover. I honestly haven't seen it try to punch me more than once in years, but that may be from me circling around it so tightly. I even booted the star up on my Wii to see if it was an issue with the Switch's emulation, but nope, it did the same damn thing.
Okay, glad that's explained.
Now what the hell is Luigi doing in this big house in the sky over here? How did he get his ass locked up in there anyway? Was this payback for the whole fiasco with one Elvin Gad? You know, maybe some questions are just better left unanswered. Being stuck in this mansion feels like a fate worse than death. You can't really do anything, you can't really go anywhere besides this one room that I couldn't find for the longest time where you can heist all the money. When you take the launch star to the upper half of the mansion, well, what about these other dimly lit rooms? Why can't I see what's in there? It just feels like a great big letdown. Why would I think about stepping foot into this wasteland when I could boot up Mario 64, pop into Big Boo's Haunt, and be able to do anything? And yes, even for how spooky and wonderful the Waltz of the Booze is playing in the background, I get the vibe that this place is only ever used as a linear pathway to a single power star, and for a galaxy with 6 missions in total, I just find that a little stupid. I also have my suspicions that the mansion that Luigi got stuck in and the tower with the bamboos are 2 different planets altogether. I mean, what the hell happened to this staircase? And why am I only going to visit this one room for a few seconds and then get launched right out afterwards and have to face Boulder Guys? You know what? Fuck this. You may have heard me proclaim more than once that Mario Galaxy is probably my favorite game of all time. At least 4 completed playthroughs can attest. And while the jury's still out on whether Mario Sunshine or Odyssey or even Galaxy 2 will ever acquire its subjectively legendary status, just because I have so many memories of this game and played it to death of course doesn't mean that all the levels are going to be winners. In fact, many of the following entries in this list are the definition of boring and just plain forgettable. Case in point, the Deep Dark...
Just kidding.
The Big Mouth Galaxy. Deep Dark is big enough and has enough interesting things to do in enough of an open world setting to warrant coming back here for an experience, as difficult as it may be. Big Mouth has none of that jizz going for it. It's tiny, it's a bit too quiet, and it only has 1 mission. Granted, it is somewhat unique in that you only come across this golden chest a grand total of once and not just any show will bust it open. Grandpa Penguin over here wants you to leave him alone so you can fish while the water's been infested with ghosts. Yeah, good luck with that, buddy. Speaking of, this planet's gotta have 2 different gravitational pulls within itself because there's a big breathing space between these 2 ponds where you can grab a shitload of star bits. I couldn't tell you how. This little waterway leads you into this bottom pond where again there's not much you can do. I'm pretty sure these jellyfish are indestructible, which makes sense. So the key to this part of the Big Mouth is by collecting the 5 star chips hidden in the seaweed. Exactly how this Link star got smashed up is beyond me, but in the end it doesn't even matter. Look how close I am to the upside down water. I could just wall jump to get up there. Or I could do that.
And there you have it. Watch for rolling rocks done in 0.5 A presses.
I get if they were going for a puzzle type level to drag out the playing time as much as they could, but it just doesn't work very well as a galaxy on its own. I'd have stuck this Big Mouth planet in the Deep Dark Galaxy as a super hidden 7th mission, or perhaps in place of Gutbeat. Actually, Bubble Blast Off. That one felt out of place. And I mean, really? Tennis balls making a watermelon grow to planet size? That is an afterthought if I've ever seen one. But that's only 1 star in a well fleshed out environment, whereas Big Mouth is a single-use galaxy. You take Big Mouth's gold bait, throw it at the golden chest, and collect the wild Captain Toad that's more than happy to fork over your Power Star. Next! I'd like to think that I try to keep myself grounded while playing Mario Galaxy. Whether I'm racing Boopa the Quick or breaking stuff, I can usually keep it in the back of my mind that I'm playing a Mario game. Doesn't have to be the Sistine Chapel when pure unadulterated fun goes a long way. It shows with the goofy and oddball power-ups, and it also shows in the choice of level themes. Haunted House? Check. Wavy Beach? You got it. Forest of Illusion? Yeah, sure, why not? Arid Desert? Well, thank God it's not overly difficult this time, and there's a lot to do here with an anomalous total of 7 stars to collect. My issue is that most of the Dusty Dune Galaxy is the same tired spiel of trudging around deep sand. You'll end up doing a lot of it in 2 of the 3 main stars, and it sometimes feels like a chore getting around this way. They try to make this a little more interesting with the presence of these dust devils early in the stage, but I can't help but feel like that's been done before. Granted, the twister in the shifting sandland was probably more of an obstacle that seemed to get in your way when you were just trying to get atop the pillars, whereas the tornadoes in Galaxy are like crutches where you need them to reach a warp pipe in the distance. It's slow moving like this, but once our soulless plumber takes off, it makes for the comical sight of him using his arms as a propeller. That's not gonna break physics at all. The only other planets I found mildly interesting were the Sunbaked Sandcastle, which had a pretty kick-ass Run For It theme, an ancient inverted pyramid-type planet that's given me horrifying callbacks to Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book, and I guess this disc planet that looks like it spells out the word Oreo, but it's really just a giant maze terrorized by tweaksters and dry bones for days. But even then, I got kinda bored of this place when the game had me revisit it once for a speedrun comment where it's completely empty all of a sudden, and then yet again to collect all the purple coins. Even though I'm a huge fan of the music that plays during the speedrun missions, the levels themselves are shit. The 4 times it happens in this game, there's almost no difference in strategy. Maybe think twice about dilly-dallying. You can still afford to leisurely stroll the level like you normally would, and with a time limit of 4.5 minutes, Sandblast Speedrun is truly no different. I can't believe I ever timed out on that star once. It's boring. They found a way to make time attacks boring. At least with the Purple Coin Collectathon, you're made to fly well over the quicksand to reach the purple rain of the spendable kind, and perhaps you're led to believe that those shadows over the sand are indicative of coins being buried within the death pit, as here's a wild mushroom guy ex machina potentially save your ass. Thanks, Captain Obvious. And while that statement right there might have been hyperbolic, Dusty Dune squarely fits the formula for bad galaxies. Boring plus relatively easy plus half forgettable equals Peach. Wait, that's not right.
A tip from Toad.
Did you know that there are no purple coins in the sand?
This has been a tip from Toad.
I just noticed something pretty jarring. You remember collecting all of the star bits across your travels, like seeing loose change on the street and picking it up without a second thought, only to end up giving them all these pink hobo mofos? Well, they all lead you to a bunch of one-off galaxies, which I explained not even 4 minutes ago already feel like a waste of a stage. Want to go to the Boost Boneyard Galaxy? No, I've already got its 1 power star. What's the point of going back? Hang on a minute, are you sure I'm not back in the Ghostly Galaxy? I mean, that background though. If that's gonna be you and me one day, I'd say we're fucked. And hold up, this is the entire galaxy? That's not a galaxy, that's an asteroid. One single bony planet-type motherfucker that happens to have a warp pipe. Now, how exactly this whole race course can fit in this planet is a can of worms for another day, but you pop in through the warp pipe and you notice Maverick from Top Gun over here waiting for you.
Now, up until this point, I've been glossing over a very important detail, which I now need to clear up.
You may recall being locked in a race with this guy way earlier in the game, and way earlier on this list for that matter, but I didn't mention it before because that was one of the few actual highlights in a galaxy whose selling point was supposed to be the big house in the sky over here. It's not my favorite mission ever, but you can do some nifty shit with a star cursor to fly across the race course at blazing speed in an unobtrusive manner. I mean, all it's asking me to do is point, and that's something I'm sure anybody can do comfortably. Meanwhile, in this desolate graveyard for the rematch, you've no pole stars to work with this time, but rather a boom mushroom. You have to take it in order to even reach the spooky speedster, and this signpost, well, at least she's being honest. To further twist the knife, there's no way to lose your boo form at any point. Yeah, they made the speedster not an enemy for no good reason. Well, you still die if you lose a race, but that don't solve anything. Any way you swing it, you're a friggin' ghost, which I suppose would create something of a fair match, well, as fair as random plumber boy trying to beat Ghost Rider his own game. I mean, this is a guy who's had an eternity's worth of practice. He should be pretty tough to beat out, right? That would be if not for you falling down the straightaway at a speed that should be impossible for a ghost. That's not to mention the path you're supposed to take is apparently much faster than the way I took. I wanted to see Spooky put up more of an effort than this. Hell, I saw him as a potential racer in the next Mario Kart, whenever the hell that is. As a result of me embarrassing this guy, I'm kinda disappointed that this star and this stage in general are even a thing. Could they not have put this rematch in a different, much larger galaxy, or at least combine him with Kingfin's shitty shell shooting? No, that name is never getting old, but Boo's Boneyard sure as hell is. I gotta get out of here. Why this place doesn't have the DEAD waltz, I can't imagine. Guys, do me a quick favor and listen to this depressing offering from the Mario Galaxy soundtrack. Told you it was depressing. It's definitely not the sound of anything eventful going on. No reason to have to hear that shit again. Unless it's actually the calm before the storm and a giant shark skeleton lurks beneath the waters below. You can probably tell that the Drip Drop Galaxy doesn't even have that going for it. You thought I was going to put Bonefin on this list, didn't you? I probably owe an apology to my friend Kingfin over here after bitching about his boss battle 5.5 years ago. Yes, they're both one-and on galaxies. Yes, they both involve a shitload of swimming with some decent underwater controls for once. Yes, they have the same teardrop music playing. Who am I kidding? I'd like to argue that Drip Drop is probably the most forgettable galaxy in this game. I, for one, keep forgetting that this is a thing. Now, the fact that it has only one power star to collect might be the best thing about this galaxy. That one level happens entirely on this water planet inhabited by a bunch of penguins who like to fish. Oh, hey, Pinguru, good to see you again. Grandpa's getting old. Oh my god, I was not aware of that. So for this star, the premise is that the water's been infested with some giant eels and escalators that apparently like to eat the penguins up as children McNuggets.
Oh no!
And now they've been left to starve on this island from catching no fish for a while. Hey, what are you doing? Get out of the fucking water, there are eels in there! Is this going to be a callback to that nightmare fuel level from Jolly Roger Bay? No, the eel should just stay in its hole and die there.
When the moon hits your eye.
Shut up, Mario. Gee, I have no idea how I'm ever going to get rid of the Gringills. I don't think these bite-sized beakers have mentioned the same idea of shitty shell shooting a million times enough. That reminds me, the penguins can swim with Koopa shells. Why don't they go down there themselves? When you dive into the water, you can find green shells as well as red shells, which, as in Mario Kart, are supposed to lock onto the enemy. I was only able to ultimately confirm that while I was recording this footage for the video, so wait, why would they give you the choice? There are 3 eels total, and they all swim around this big-ass planet rather slowly, so if you have a red shell, hitting them more it fucks is pretty much a formality since there's hardly anything else to distract you, save for a torpedo Ted here and there. And yes, I did get the red shell to work properly when trying Kingfin for the last time, even with a bazillion fish bones coming after me. And did I mention that killing all 3 eels gets you the power star right off the bat? If it at least led you to a different planet like the nearby Bowie Base Galaxy, Drip Drop wouldn't feel like so much of a waste as it currently stands. Why I don't hear anybody else bitching about this stage is a mystery. Okay, where did he go? What did I do to get it to move? And while we're at it, I thought I remembered Jolly Roger Bay having this dark and ominous atmosphere. Apparently the haze goes away and it becomes broad daylight once you get 1 star? What a load of shit. I found this game to be for the most part a breath of fresh air when I played it for the first time. Of course, back in 2007, I probably only had New Super Mario Bros. To compare to. As you might have guessed, the more I played it, I noticed the stages are getting a little lazy with their design choices. You know what's gonna happen. I'm going to reference an early galaxy that in its own right was okay-ish, not really out of this world compared to you-know-what. And then I'm gonna throw in a later galaxy that's also pretty forgettable, but somehow comes with a callback to the Honey Hive in the most sus manner ever, but that's not even the least of Gold Leaf's issues. For starters, the opening mission has you chase some bunnies around for the billionth time. I couldn't tell you what kind of freakish heart on Nintendo has with these bastards. And I'm aware Gusty Garden did the same shit right off the bat, albeit after a much longer level that introduced the player to an actual new gameplay mechanic, whereas here you pick up some star chips, catch the bunny, and that's it. Nope, it gets even worse. The shameful Honey Hive imitados here to force you to deal with these godforsaken cataquacks. Clearly, I'm not a fan of the bothersome little shits. That may have been from having to avoid them in Mario Kart, but having these quacks chase you around just for making eye contact really did it for me. It doesn't matter that I can use them for a power-up skip. If I don't want to live, I don't want to live. Now go to sleep! You can stop laughing at my misfortune, I'm still not finished. A few of the stars in this galaxy involve using the bee mushroom to get places, or so they would have you believe. We know about that infamously bonkers bee mushroom skip in the Honey Hive, but it's like they didn't even try to enforce it this time. I mean, yeah, they highly encourage it with flower pads and rain clouds aplenty, but who gives a rat's ass? This is Mario, he can do anything. Long field of floating, spinning flowers between you and the star, just break out the long jump. Getting rained on, where there's a will, there's a way. That's a big ass jump right there. Doesn't matter, Mario's a fucking acrobat. It's like I'm playing Mario Odyssey, just with older and more primitive graphics and not such an emphasis on open world exploration. It doesn't help that pretty much every mission in this galaxy is linear for all intents and purposes, or maybe it does. I already reconned the Honey Hive to death, any time spent checking this dump out is a waste. But taking the actual atmosphere out of the picture, if there is any, we're still in deep space after all, Gold Leaf Galaxy offers a grand total of 0. Nothing unique, nothing enjoyable, nothing fresh, jack shit. And I probably don't even know jack shit. Last year, my friend Ceave Gaming made an analysis on Nintendo's recent obsession with gameplay. I was thinking the topic was going to be a joke since it too was published on April Fool's Day, but holy shit, he had a lot to talk about that I honestly never considered up until now. Nintendo could probably take a hint right now that there's far more to what makes a video game legendary than raw gameplay, which appears to take the front seat in a modern title like Mario Odyssey. And I totally get it. A big part of why I enjoy Mario Galaxy so much is from little details that don't strictly involve gameplay, as a matter of fact. Even then, there are a select few stages that seem to put a little too much emphasis on gameplay, but this next stage gets a little ridiculous in that department. Mario is pretty much synonymous with platforming at this point, but the snow-capped galaxy is an antithesis if I've ever seen one. There's no platforming at all here. None. It's another tiny galaxy with 2 lonely little planets housing one stupid mission, and that's to catch 3 star bunnies in 2.5 minutes.
But first, we need to clear something up.
I've heard some of you bicker about just how hard this star is supposed to be. It's really not. If you know where to find the troublesome bun-buns, then it's more than manageable, but that doesn't change the fact that you're just chasing rabbits around for the bazillionth time. Could the developers not have framed the star just a little differently, have something else get Mario on his feet? Maybe have the snowman move around for a change? Whatever the case, show of hands, how many of you actually like this level? Okay, that's another problem. Whatever triggered or sinning video you want to make based on Mario Galaxy, this is probably the one game mechanic even I couldn't defend, and I can see why you would think the same way. I had enough trouble looking for rabbits, let alone catching them in the DS remake of Mario 64, and to have a tiny galaxy revolve solely around chasing them around again with the time limit, that's a surefire recipe for a bad time. Literally, its only redeeming quality is that it's only 1 power star. And thank God for that, because I don't know what other bullshit you could have fit into a stage with 2 lonely planets. The only thing I do know is that Snowcap sucks balls, but somehow there's one galaxy left to talk about that is just about every issue I've already glossed over, but then finds a way to push it over the event horizon. That's when it gets sucked into the black hole of everything wrong with Super Mario Galaxy.
But to answer that, we need to talk about parallel universes. And if you thought my other tangents were complicated,
Let me riddle you this. If Mario falls into a black hole in the Sea Slide Galaxy, which turns out to be a wormhole that sends him to an alternate universe where this place doesn't have not 1 but 2 of the most mind-numbing missions from any Mario game ever, then I might be a fucking idiot, because there are no black holes in this galaxy, well, aside from this one at the center of Hurry Scurry's revenge over here. You ready for a bombshell? That's the most unique thing you do here, and it's probably the only interesting objective of the bunch. The other 5 all have you either swimming across this big-ass ocean ring or mindlessly toiling through it for collectibles. No more, no less. As well, there aren't any silver stars or even purple coins in the water itself. Like, what was the goddamn point? So the first time you reach this galaxy, there's a real happy-looking shark hogging the waters to himself, and you gotta swim to chase him out. Then they hold a swimming competition for penguins, which you're supposed to infiltrate. I'm surprised the penguins even let Plumber Boy in the race, even if the signpost says challengers welcome. And then there's the Prankster Comet, where, big surprise, you gotta swim to the Power Star and beat out Shadow Mario. Or Shadow Luigi. There, you happy? You could make those levels slightly more bearable by picking up a Koopa Shell and trivialize the racing missions. Well, you might need it against Shadow Luigi, but even then I feel like I can't traverse the course fast enough.
A tip from Guppy.
Did you know that if you pass through those underwater rings, you'll speed up?
now it's time to build up some speed, and I mean a lot of speed.
Whoa, nice! So you finally used that speed hack I told you about, huh?
Nope, I just smoked a ton of meth!
Meth way better than hack.
Purple coins by the seaside. This star is hands down the most tedious and time-consuming star this game has to offer. You might think that this purple coin level where all the coins are heavily spaced out and it's just a chore to get anywhere is par for the course in a game that has you doing pretty much the same damn thing in the Freeze Flame and Deep Dark galaxies, to name a few. But have you noticed a huge difference in the one from Sea Slide? Seriously, look at this footage and see if you can pick out what's wrong with it. I couldn't have counted on anyone else to give me a more tedious way of flying to reach this stupid ass Eminence monies. We'd have to wait 3 more years to be able to use the Cloud Flower, but if somehow Nintendo had given it to us for Galaxy 1, I know I'd have a far better time picking these guys up. Or even better, this would have been a great stage to throw in a red star. Once you master its admittedly wonky controls, you'd be able to fly much faster and get your 100 purple coins in half the time. And you don't even have to be all that accurate, just spinning near them will bring them to you. It's so much less obstructive that way, and I seriously don't understand why the red star was only implemented in one goddamn level. Red Luma did say I could use it somewhere else after all. Putting in a bee mushroom instead was easily the biggest mistake this game made. I always thought purple coins by the seaside was the worst star to get, and now I'm kinda triggered knowing that it could have been saved by having in place of the beach room a criminally underused power-up that actually fucking makes you fly. But as it stands, this level is shit, the Sea Slide Galaxy is shit, and I never ever want to go there again.
Man, I did not expect this video to become 25 minutes long when I started commentating, but I guess there was just that much to explain. Hopefully, you were able to follow along with my explanations and visuals, learn something new, and had an enjoyable experience.
If you made it to this part of the video, let me know in the comments what's your favorite place to go on vacation. Also, feel free to tell me your least favorite stages in Mario Galaxy.
Well, there's currently no cases where that's useful or important.
Because, let's be real, I have the correct list. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, I bow down to your superior intellect. Anyway, share this video, thumbs it up or down, you know what to do. I'm still aiming for 1,000 dislikes on you know what, thanks a lot YouTube. I'm starting to feel galaxied out at this point, so I'm gonna go play Super Mario Sunshine for a while. You can yell at me if you catch me doing Mario 64 DS or Kaizo Galaxy instead. Okay, bye!